Yeah, I got to read here with John Ashbery. It was really great. I want to actually start by reading a couple poems of his, and one of them is the title poem from his book from 1998, Wakefulness. And I got into his work through a lot of the later work, and then kind of went back to the stuff that happened in the across the 60s and into the 70s. This book was published in 1998. Wakefulness. An immodest little white wine, some scattered seraphs, recollections of the fall. Tell me, has anyone made a spongier representation, chased fewer demons out of the parking lot where we all held hands? Little by little, the idea of the true way returned to me. I was touched by your care, reduced to fawning excuses. Everything was spotless in the little house of our desire. The clock ticked on, happy about being apprenticed to eternity. A gamut of dust motes came to replace my seeing. Everything was as though it had happened long ago in ancient peach-colored funny papers wherein the law of true opposites was ordained casually. Then the book opened by itself and read to us. You pack of liars, of course tempted by the crossroads, but I like each and every one of you with a peculiar sapphire intensity. Look, here is where I failed at first. The client leaves. History goes on, rolling distractedly on these shores. Each day dawn condenses like a very large star, bakes no bread, shoes the faithless. How convenient if it's a dream. In the next sleeping car was madness. An urgent languor installed itself as far as the cabbage-hemmed horizons. And if I put a little bit of myself in this time, stoppered the liquor that is ourselves truant exchanges, brandished my intentions for once, but only I get something out of this memory, a kindly gnome of fear perched on my dashboard once, but we had all been instructed to ignore the conditions of the chase. Here it seems to grow lighter with each passing century. No matter how you twist it, life stays frozen in the headlights. Funny, none of us heard the roar. And this is called Laughing Gravy. Laughing Gravy. The crisis has just passed. Uh-oh, here it comes again. Looking for someone to blame itself on. You, I. All these people coming in. The last time we necked, I noticed this lobe on your ear. Please tell me we may begin. All the wolves in the wolf factory paused at noon for a moment of silence. This poem is called Breezeway, and it's the title poem of the book. I think it's the next to last, or next to most recent book. Breezeway. Someone said we needed a breezeway to bark down remnants of Superstorm Elias jugularly. Alas, it wasn't my call. I didn't have a call or anything resembling one. You see, I've always been a rather dull-spirited winch. The days go by, and I go with them. A breeze falls from a nearby tower, finds no breezeway, goes away, along a mission to supersize red shutters. Sign up for the bookmarks email, read more. Alas, if that were only all. There's the children's belongings to be looked to, if only one can find the direction needed and stuff like that. I said we were all homers, not homos, but my voice dwindled in the roar of Hurricane Edsel. We have to live out our precise experimentation. Otherwise, there's no dying for anybody, no crisp rewards. Batman came out and clubbed me. He never did get along with my view of the universe, except, existential threads from the time of the Peace Feeders and more. He patted his dog, Pastor Fido. There was still so much to be learned and even more to be researched. It was like a goodbye. Why not accept it anyhow? The mission girls came through the woods in their special suitings. It was all whipped cream and baklava. Is there a Batman somewhere who notices us and promptly looks away at a new catalog, say, or another racing car expletive coming back at him? Batman welcomes you. The implicit other lesson of that poem is that the older you get, the less serious you have to be, or something. I'm going to read a few poems from this book called Come In Alone, which requires me to do some elaborate turnings while I read it, which will become evident as I do it, because these poems are all written out at the edge of pages, so they sit here at the edges of these pages. And then I have to figure out where to start reading them because they don't have beginnings or ends. Put that name away. So many more people than today. There goes scale again, ape on fly in space, where here so little's known to a maybe's delight. My apple pie kicks ass, wanting all gift-giving to come down on socks, plus giving up planning to take over a world, nearby a slice for $1, govern warned adages. This side of it's not that you didn't pay your fucking bill, and so less of what today is self-evident, today being put that name away, so many more people than today. Preparing body for a series of nationalized tribitulations, delete LeBron's a trending song. He takes its space as a central factoid of bringing talents to bear projective markets. Conceptually speaking, I stink of pianos, in pianos, motivations of contention, a glimpse as things go, owl, or etc., baby, or etc., imitation quack to our left in the middle of a gone way, being the middle of a restricted area in a nesting sign, preparing body for a series of nationalized tribitulations. Truly, it's astute to yell at every body. At times, it's the impulse's problem. Pole, secret, gray lober arrested. I divest and divest, looking for Melmoth or a quarter. The baby takes its time, stamping duration, spit up recognitions, no article nor effect of fragility, reading vanishing points, bouncing on this big blue ball to quell colic at its misconception. That anaconda just wants hugs from J-Lo and Ice Cube, mustn't urge encore. Truly, it's astute to yell at everybody at times. The concept must be graspable at the outset, or verily most outsized as gasps. Freight a speech I have, channels, obsific speedjects, decision to be gone to the queen musical dimension, colored unwilling or in fact uncornered. The issue is not credible. You daydream a nation of you, thinking intervention, thinking intervention, thinking intervention, matters of babied space. As to liken, the concept must be graspable at the outset, or verily most outsized as gasps. It all leaks in, and on the next lap, all the gongs get robbed. I was a fossilized lightning bolt. I shit the magnanimous bed. The outer mouths, not exactly months or moths, schlocking deliberately, synth-based, cruel summer style, promises the lingo to lie at least once per message. For the sake of the short leash, among other fevers needlessly treated, we see you rocking out with your with-it budget battles. It all leaks in, and on the next lap, all the gongs get robbed. Some jobbed contingency, who became too old to be angry, you guess, gradating millionish, who's beheaded by color, color and color, inskirts of stress, know of, knows to fuck this light, the middling distance of reaction, defronted, republics of realty, and practically speaking, an inside of well-schooled outsiders, a video zoo herded by leaps, transfoliated, appropriate, speaking incessantly behind any old abyss's backdoor politesse, some job contingency who became too old to be angry, you guess. But, and so I liked, but, and so I lasciviously fantasized about a holiday in convention. Any old convention will do. Famed Hitchcock actor dies as we squeeze a bin of life out of a few seconds of your, oh you didactic prig. Pity the poor reptiles, the old meanness of magnificent feeling, the fuck all y'all part of community politics, the box of speech aiming to grope in a canvas rickshaw, the puny wide-eyed ones, but and so I liked, but and so I lasciviously fantasized about a holiday and convention. Any old convention will do. Insert qualifications to extend. She searched, oh my God. We said search, oh my God. And the lists got weirder. The no ships of no space for broadening. Insert money to begin. If you can go gnome. 3-point records set in front of your parquet face. 30 munchkin and poetically fucked off as habitat. Some musics to honor by transforming them as the ear suckles tone and fear. I get it now. I'm supposed to get it. Insert qualifications to extend. In the break, there's little light, enough to break. What that's off remains, steering the no light. I was working out on it, broken loose, not like I saw myself. The tools are cheap, as in available, usable, looking up ineffable, which sounds what it means when some with shit, you can give yourself back to yourself unless, are you dead? That's an issue. Finding all the times, how many yours you've been in, what's a break from that? In the break, there's little light. I'm going to read a little bit from this little booklet called Digressions. I'm glad, Anne, that you laid out what the terms variously mean, so I don't have to do that. But I have to say, it's very interesting. If you write a word like pregrets at the top of a page, you can get the feeling that anything you put underneath it is going to suddenly become qualified. Digressions. Bombing for a third space. No, sorry. Digressions. Bombing for a third space, between enemies, brushing permission, forge and paper plate on $2,500 painted newsprint. Between Astro and Shag Green Prevails, tractor boat phones, beamy fields, so they all select to say, the plastic life terribly dangerous, accorded to the in-between, cast-pressed, protruded in the JV terror, perpetually ambiguous pharmacy therapy, played out as soulful politics, plus dog fucks dog, enter Q-train light, Chegra white, flat out forward in so-called times, turquoise armies of letters, blood, all do not lean on mechanical twins. Job, place, mentat assistance available. Every dude's a suspicious package, objectively, speakingly. She's dead wrong, but she wields her prismans on the screen with stubbornity, unfolding the priority tsunami seat, yellow subway floor thing between fruit and plastic fractaling, a shimmering no matter on or if or as or in gems surrounded by tortoise shells faked or sealed. Subgressively progressing the artifice of chemistry, pant leg, necktie, mattress pad fragment, in its deposition in nature, matchbook cover and found wood sigh on canvas, aquamarine, urban ears and pseudo-recovery of attention shift, cosmetic ground pursuant of misregistration to the last. Jay saw milk paintings and Daglit kicked back and asked if she could touch the comfy spots again. Hyperchromatic treat day canceled forever. Digressions. Image production sells us our meltdowns. We con ourselves into participation. Coming on and of at ages. Laughter is very, very good to the coeval populace disfigured via comparison with flow. I don't know, numerously. Flattened impact players mounting real madness and ending anti-heroically. Even sanity ain't sane today. Disinvited to play Dragon City, please. Snipers gotta stop ripping off pigeons. First visions, the vulgar one. Sadness tones given by the dark dominant. A self-portrait all ash-colored. True parasites of the object. Glad I figured out how to be kinder to my brother. Outside of any unfortunate art, please accept all my regards. Zapf explains your rethought got rethoughted, or verily escape ragged and rebesotted. neutrality in shadows, misuse of shadows. When you put camouflage on, I can't see the bummer's rehab eternal. If to be is the object of resurgence, merged with insurgents, will be a nice menu memory, druggy and huggies, replacement level topless Vatican protester who stole Jesus free. I used my transfer drawing to hop on unlimited lead heads from behind the practice shadow in a form of public. Shape contains form and moves for listeners listening to how you say you see walking get held on the avs, the sides, the gaps, the co-flats, the blocks. The periwinkle tune cymbals gliding down through the locks. Digress. How much time wasted waiting to be loved. Unable to identify any love coming. There's the end. It can't even pretend to stop. Words collapse into your movement, a gym of gestures you pay to sweat within in honor of something like extension. Lines enter our ears. Lines swim before our faces. We enable brutality against our wishes, which are barely known to us. And that's a lie. We're too many to know. And why isn't a flower a star if nothing else is available? You can have your wise translations. You have them already. Your whole sense of truth is fed laterally. Pity the applied ending. It's only a desperate face commanding us to begin again. If the hook wasn't sound, I'd raise you off it. Cleanse the little tear with a list or erstwhile fabricated substitute like the sweet powdered hardcore from the blooming old shit store. I was wrong to say lie up there, but it's okay. We're not going to rule out a long-term extension as long as pure daylight stays out of the way. Pregrets. The page torn itself out on a plain line with a curve, like the earth. Its destroyers too busy with reality's accreting encapsulation to notice, all bowed with interchangeable centers in fear of opposition. One too has having tremendous chaste desires to be slights. Don't insert your image thing there in that likeness, dig dug with reactionary vegetables. Pensive music sidles up to brackets. I've got your whole back, but you got no neck. In my backpack, requilibrium versus prequilibrium. Ahem, says Chip, circling the active sequence. Pitch the ship or don't. There are many formaldehydes of anti-expression. Every 5 minutes, adding 5 years, scale peers in the traffic. Let us now misapprehend nature's inhospitable quality. Butterfly attacks. Private life goes on the wing, so this is like it pointing to itself, or handing it to you, because it is the enigma, right? I mean, it is it. You can't do anything with it. But this gets it right, puts it in your hand or in your voice. Yeah, it not only gives you it, but it gives you somebody giving you it, right? Which is like, it's up front, in a way. Whereas it is raining, is mystical, you know? It sure is. But it's also reality. I mean, it's real reality. Whereas it's possible that you can't ever really say this when you mean it. This is called deflategrets. And it was an attempt at trying to write a realist poem. Deflategrets. We might as well start with the artificial hill on Governor's Isle. Or we might as well start with the way local street violence deflates the pompous, the pretentious, the grandiose dose of instant critical appraisal. No, we might as well begin with the neglect of certain experiences, pumpkin carving, say, due to tiny domestic compromises. Anywhere is a place to be for the Roach family. We might as well count bag leaves. They're banned in Paris, I see one, no, shredded, I mean now, in a blank tree in Sour Park on 12th near B, where I write this amidst people disguised as people who don't kind of know me, maybe. The playground scene, a place where I'm getting a degree in performing what realism looks like it means to me. Sitting quietly between negotiations, i.e. 5-year-old June just handed some gum to me. I chewed it and handed it back, and she fled with horrified glee. Today, she and I both despise the letter E. The gum competes with a browning yellow leaf for cheap mortality, and we might as well start with an overpriced cup of lukewarm coffee. We might as well start with the addict on the C train standing nearby smelling like Lower Manhattan in 1983. I fucked up today. This tiny little dude just came by to say hi to me anyway, not bringing the candy. And now Jay asks me to say my name, but I make her do it. Me and we no like that game. I want to read these, oh God, I don't want to explain this. So I have 5 poems I'm going to read. They're all called Jim Brodey. And they're imitations of works by the poet Jim Brodey, who wrote a lot of poems, and he would put the names of people who were his friends or his idols or his heroes at the top of the poem, and then write these triplets, sort of 3-line stanzas, 10 of them, and try to make it look like a sane, normal poem. But inside it would be not that at all. And I knew Jim a little bit as a kid because he had a hard life, and as a teenager, he would, while I was a teenager, he'd come over and never leave for weeks. Because he had a hard life and he needed to sit there. But I was 14 and I tolerated that, but I didn't know how to communicate. So then I wrote a poem with his name at the top, trying to deal with that. And then at the beginning of this year, I was reading his poems in this book, Heart of the Breath, and I just fell completely in love with them. And then I wanted to write some poems that kind of got over to get over that issue that I had with his presence, and to not even kind of deal with it and start from scratch, and also to see what it was like to try to write pretending to be him, knowing that I would be myself at the same time, because suddenly influence, in that sense, not influence, imitation, like directly trying to imitate somebody's work that way became interesting to me instead of being a problem. I mean, it's still a problem, but everything's a problem at this point. Well, maybe not everything. Okay. Jim Brodey. Oh, and I just should say this first line. The first line of this poem comes out of this piece that a poet, John Godfrey, wrote after Brodey died. Near the end of it, he said it was getting hard to have Jim be around. And he meant that with a certain kind of affection that's hard to translate, but Jim Brodey. It's getting hard to have me around too, Jim. So I write you under yellow light, leaning into some waylaid framed dimensions, tearing off them from reapers. May Joan Mitchell's oils leap off their canvases and drown the neo-fangled supremacist cops advancing on the water protectors at Dapple. The heart of the breath wakes up on a screeching bench in the park's skin veins excavated twirl of holes. Do holes twirl, Jim? Do you speak to sullen children in the afterbreath of hoisted wooden woo, bouncing off train belches in the tantrums of refusal, till some sugary bribe arrives, triggering departure? I have 3.5 jobs, which is 3 too many. When I sang Get Me In for Free to the Sky, addressing you, addressing it, I imagined a band composed from your trash bag of tapes, lines harder to carry, slipping under the nails. Tom R. checked out recently the 20 versions in 20 languages of Tottering State going at once. The construction workers buzzing outside's intimation of locust abortion technician agree. The cackling was beautiful if overly kempt for subroutine bum phasers on slow withdrawal from the womp-clawed headlight eternities of slush hour traffic. You go that way and scout out the other direction. You wake up and actually speak. You amplify Bethlehem in the collector's edition. I I never tell what I take from. It's taken every try to get the shape of a thing even a little. Bright flowers painted from their lifelike. Listen. Jim Brodie. You're just going to find yourself yelling at clouds if you wake up and dive into info bits first thing, last thing. And what cloud wouldn't whistle back if you cooed its way straight up, neck craned, obstructing the arithmetic piecemealdom of street traffic by serenading Cirruses with your right to be judged by your best bent tonal escapades. You and the pigeons rising up and defecating down to wish good luck upon the sucker denizens of our ongoing charade of linear experience, to intrude for intoxicate silly promises so reflect as a gleam. Night with wander portraits, heat reveal fucking merging, the Hesiod Dylan tapes hippity hopping, straight regal unplug warm, an old chaos begrets heads of mild comport for loving in purses. We all need heads to carry around in purses, to protect from the non-pigeon life forms swirling around our daily ant wars and primal odes to carelessness. One convention hides another locker portal to convention's gigantor half-life, a jar of conserved tears in the wallpaper fabric of reality dead in a song, for a Pepsi, a Karnak, and a green hoodie with teleporting dog, damn it, Jim, all the leaves live, and flown under FaceTime fantasies of sanity you'd have to structure some bullpen usage around champagne juji fruits marvelous as Aquaman on a melodious afternoon. Come over and sit down forever. Tell me all the ways in silence we don't exploit our traumas together. I'm a feather, not a leak. Jim Brodie. Here is a contradiction involving time. Here is a counter-frictional hairy seat devolving time and time's Uncle Shame. Here's a bobble-headed Jehovah, spotless and wicked as a wide-orbited, unemotional lamb cutting off its gibby-tripped legs to dance one-legged in the rain in Florida. Here is an I am defrosted, defronted, decrusted, decustardized, and dedapple yours with dwarf star lips anything surrounds. Claude Monet was one of these heiresses. A flying horse of wild crab language, more face under here's vicious deportation squalor. Here is a counterfactual spotlight for loveless professionals, all desire they meet as illusion. Here let me, if let there, glow on and we. Here as though only stars writhing out street free. Herein and grace there this or violent will dealings. Here that firing marvelous on when she bespeaks. Here-ish rampant moronic palatial mind. Mr. Here buckles a pioneer. One reacheth, whereas here's a hymn-run explanation into when this reveals, likewise gone to vapor. Here's a likewise, pumping straight to your heart with a spliff of unsane word-shaped blasphemings, shed rhythms, tortoise histories. Here's guppy marginal talkers, a bent other, cruising items, all reborn armor, reaching envelops, where separated tariff brains, get gods brained and rebrained by interior post-astral domain. Here be trance, here be lanced. Jim Brodie. I only hold against you your name and your pain, but for also holding up against you an Aussie python stuck between engine and oven mitt. No, I truly hold against you your belief your name is yours, is yours, is yours. The torture of disagreement. It's nearly become torture to disagree. Where's that one star framed solely for thee, Jim? You aren't the you here. I hold against myself the flimsy inability to let myself go completely. But only I hold that really. Can you believe it's a quarter century since you turned that last corner forever? And fake fucking news is all the rage. Sorry, not fake fucking, just fake news. Fake fucking is as establishment as the national dad pop song formula, single-issue plots, and shitty movies making suckers cry in surround sound. I will begin a campaign to claim my fake name. We're just shitting ideas these days, Jim. Every other mug online's a Robert Moses building grass-free playgrounds in the mind rinds. This negativity has to stop shopping itself around. I only hold cruelty against the vast non-body grinding bodies in the numbers. And I'm seriously worried about the gentle Zen gem of Mundo whose anger runs whispering away from him looking for a kindly host like me to play unto Wraith. Didn't Eddie cook you broccoli once? All little kids secretly know how to cook for Blues apple buns. Jim came over once apparently when only my brother was there. And he was 2 years younger than me, so he couldn't have been very old, and he made him some broccoli. Now, like, somebody would get called, like child services would get called for that kind of thing. All right, this is the last one of these. Jim Brody. All this shattering, incredulous, dull-minded speed, all this slow burn ache, Stockholm syndromed in the cuckoo clusters of badass fucked upholstery, all these Enlund Whiston the cat with superpower stories for unsleeping munchkins demanding adult brooding go into the wood chipper. The cat could swing on people swings, go all the way around the sky bar, travel by balloons, inside balloons, and stride across Saturn's rings just to check the grain of footing. I should say, pouring all the unbridled. You've been bridled lately? Love addressed in names and me slumming at the Sky Church to get some something sums to come off the teen death shock chest. Where bald scalps or super old skin being scarier. Don't clean your floor ever. I am a princess of bubbly nothingness and mean nothing. All the lines I steal from him to make this their slanky-ass poem. Who invented ass as a demi-adjectival modifier anyway? Someone who knew the power of the ass syllable in fits of rhetoric dawn and corner yap. It's a precision stress, an undeniable slap of emphasis that defeats its own generic-ass non-quality. What the fuck was we saying? All the neoclassical mosaic Brody schmear I'm laying down to help me get through via unfashionable non-currency, this absolute disaster of a current state. May there be more hoary hosts of landings on this dark star as we dig to unsurvive through and for the one poem we all write out of our entire existence alive. And then I just want to read one poem to end. This is called In-Betweener. The In-Betweener. Did anybody read Marvel comic books like from the 70s? Anybody? You know this sort of series, What If? Like, there would be this excuse to say, change the story and then kill everybody by the end of the comic book. So in one of them, there's this character named the In-Betweener who seemed to exist between universes and could kind of come and go and had 4 faces, one on each side of its head. And so this poem is called In-Betweener. And I actually wrote it in Tompkins Square Park in New York City the day that I found out that John had died. In-Betweener. The sun got its new Angel Wings t-shirt, smudged with the sandbox's finest demi-mud. This would render appearances partial, with a cornball's incongruence. Sidewalk chalk radioactive. Well, we'll never write that letter to the lozenges. I mean that shrinking postcard on the way to Saturn. Will someone please hand me my martini so I can make it through this awful ordeal? Name there in the palm of your natural tremor. The title placed the action off-center, rendering that floating green eye, well, it floated off onto some bell somewhere. Yesterday's duck seemed to have 3 parents, a vulture, a turkey, and a something, a plastic shapeliness, unaccountably signaling dark star. Winged creatures suspend shyness. And we were stabbed with permission all over and again, the assemblages of guilt frozen in dispossession. Did that closet just murmur? No mere solar beam can harm the lord of photosynthesis. No barrier can stop one who dwells between all boundaries. Welcome back to life, my former foes. and be tied to the end of your string, flying in the airwaves at night. Thank you.
The John Ashbery part makes me really shy, so I brought my well-worn John Ashbery, Where Shall I Wander? And I'm just going to read a paragraph from something, but the thing was, when I became a young poet, or thought I was becoming a young poet, you had to read John Ashbery and understand his poetry. And I read his poetry, and I didn't understand it. And I thought about it a lot, and I didn't understand it. And I memorized huge swaths of it, and I didn't understand it. And everybody else seemed to understand it. And then, after a while, I got to be pretty good, and I didn't think about it or understanding it very much for a while. Although I had these dreams where John Ashbery would tell me I would be having a problem with a project, and he would appear and tell me what to do next. So he had entered some kind of strange mentor status with regard to me, but I still didn't understand him. And then when I got to be around 60, I got this total crush on his late poetry. And it was so wonderful because I didn't like very much poetry anymore. And suddenly I just loved this poetry. I loved it to death. And I couldn't tell anyone. And I imitated it, and I made lists and everything. And I told Anselm and Edmund how much I really liked it, and they helped me get all the books. And I still don't understand it, and obviously it doesn't matter. So I will read this rather short paragraph, and it can be the epigraph of my reading. This is from Como Berenices, which is my favorite poem from Where Shall I Wander? The snowball is a model for the soul because billions of souls are embedded in it, though none can dominate or even characterize it. In this, the snowball is like the humblest soul that ever walked the earth. The rapacious, the raw are its satellites. It wants you to believe its core is the outermost shell of the universe, which may or may not be true. Each of us has the choice of believing it, but we cannot believe in both things without becoming separated from our core of enigma, which soldiers on in good times and bad, protecting us alike from the consequences of inaction and misguided enthusiasm. The snowball would melt before it would release us from our vows. I didn't understand that. I'm so grateful he wrote all of those poems. I'm going to read some stuff that I wrote quite recently, and then I'm going to read something long and impossible from certain magical acts. And I'm going to try to make my sleeve come down underneath my other sleeve. But it won't do it. It never does. I wrote these poems last spring trying to figure out what had happened in my life for the last 17 years, or actually wondering if anything had happened. And I still don't know, and I don't know anything about these poems. Except that they sound like poems, they sound like New York school poems, which I am not a member of. That kind of poem. It's lovely, no more radiation treatments, though everyone prefers being alarmed about politics to poetry, and that's a mistake. But it's a crisis, of course. I'm so happy not to go to l'Institut Curie, at least for months. I dreamed of an empty body last night, a decision as to what necklace should be put inside it. Last June, you knew all this was coming, yes, and every day writing poetry, creating the real world. I answered the phone to a telemarketer on Thursday, and a voice says in French, "I'm calling on behalf of Monsieur Lorenzo, the medium." I hung up laughing and thought of Lorenzo Thomas. After he died, 2005, I dreamed he burst out of his coffin in Chicago, the Diversey Street house where we first bonded, 72. He was wearing a shower cap but seemed to be exhorting me to, what? And dust. There was dust on him. It was a long time ago's Vietnam. My brother's just back, I said to him. Who would have thought, the poem says, I'd be still alive and in Paris, France for the health care. This dusty form is my beauty crystal necklace. You're smashing, Lorenzo, great poet. Who we were, I can't figure what lasts on a tiny planet of phantasmagoria except one's love. Agamemnon. You may have become too detached, knowing how to do things though you can't stop, like literacy. Those other shoes I haven't worn much. Hi, why in that production of Agamemnon did Cassandra wear platforms? And something about spit. No reason to accept the story you're given, right? I went to the play in 2011. The chorus was the same face projected on screen numerous times with vocal overlap. I have never, and I refuse. I've been to be in a chorus. I cannot be the chorus. The community, I reject the concept, though there you are. Prose is when you say what's approved or condemned. I mean poetry that's really prose, and in the chorus you approve of prose, though you speak poetry unknowingly all your life. At that time but what? As in theater, the lines invade the actors. You in life cannot resist your lines. Bad poets talk about guilt and you nod, but guilt is inarticulatable. So the real poet leaves it out and expresses my anguish at being in a theater alone, speaking French to someone who turned out to be English, dressed up in black. I remember how to be Cassandra. I remember disliking the mirror image politics of disagreement, allowing cruelty, pretense of being wronged, and you do get it, I don't ever. And don't hit back or click tongue callously. Given, was it given? Can you stop whatever? No, I re-enter my apartment. Do you, and do you win? Remember the hoax you have approved? I don't approve of anything. What I saw coming was only masses of wrong-headed traffic, air-killing, foolish, hurrying home. Everyone hurrying home from it inside. Is nothing changing inside where you are? No? Have you changed yourself inside? Yes, I have. Working on it in the most incomprehensible way the chorus wouldn't. What about the spit out of which spit was created? And then I find I'm no common humanity good, out of focus. The building is old, and the play is older by Seneca, whose life moral question she walks, and I walk out of that theater having no more lines, no more chorus. The community is a hoax then? Why are you writing these? To try to remember what you is that. Nothing much happens. For 17 years it was rich, living in isolation in a populous city. Remember when I hated my neighbor because he was noisy? I didn't hate him, I couldn't look at him, I wanted to kick him out. He held raves every weekend. I called the cops a lot and worked with a certain policeman who discovered my neighbor had been arrested in Bordeaux for breaking furniture. He finally stopped paying rent, had to leave then. The Guardian and I gave thumbs up signs across Rue des Messageries. She has since moved to Valencia. I'm interested in how totally against him I was. You could say I have sensitive ears that simply react. His mother came up from Toulouse once to help him clean. We were overrun with mice. She caught 7 one morning with glue traps. Excuse me, she said, I'm the mother of your neighbor who's sometimes noisy. Do you have mice? I tried to tell her I'd seen them slide down the gas pole like firemen, but I didn't have the French for that, and French firemen don't. She had a dream of moving to San Diego. I don't mind any of it except for my ears. I was born receptive, and sound shakes me up. I have a poem in which the universe is like a vocal cord. It must also be an ear, infinite reception. Music destroys thought, poetry is it. I couldn't have been bothered to tell this story in prose. A decision was taken after time began to maintain a prose universe. I have been bored ever since, and keep to myself, though contrarily trying to save you from the materials of your destructive lives, masses of noise, anything to forget what, and maybe I am only a nerve, or am nerve. If you could remember, shut up and remember. Or is it not remember? I am in a state of vibration, every possible sound available. Why? Or is it only something to do, the one thing to do? Or is it only Helen Morgan again singing, why was I born? Why am I living? I have nothing to show for my time but poems. What do you have? Jim Carroll's Ass. I still can't get this sleeve right. Jim Carroll's Ass. Nothing seems real, yet I'm willing to play the real game for once I love, and when I'm sick I go get pills, but more and more hovering above it and then is it a question of for who? That's why I no longer have memories. I don't care about them. Though I can contrive more, but I don't belong in them anymore. Do you really think everyone is benighted? Someone in effect asked. I guess I said yes. What emanates from me is crackling love, electrical currents, and aliveness. Everything else I do remember playing games. Pac-Man at midnight in the months before Ted died. Jim Carroll's favorite being Ms. Pac-Man. One has an official position that humanity's history has erroneously deemed women untalented, ineffectual at its projects over literally millions of years. Therefore, humanity is likely to be wrong about anything, no everything, and nothing whatsoever is happening except for pain. Isn't this ridiculous? Yet, I like to remember Jim Carroll mooning Ted at the entrance to Julia's Billiards Academy. The first time I met him, he was showing off for me and had a pearly ass. This is cerebrality, but not within the time frame of my research. Somewhere in a room outside this whole place, Earth, an infinitely large, unshaped one, this poem, already written, is being translated through tubes or pathways into my mind or heart. I am, and it's all covered by me who already wrote it. I don't have an audience. We are a membrane of receptive contiguity, abstract, abstractly avial, and wing white. Uncle, because I was too far into remembering, I forgot what else I had been doing. Starting to read the hideous New York Times International, then hanging laundry, I was remembering Woody and how Spanish was used by my family for swearing and difficult goodbyes. Estoy aquí por decir adios, he said to me in 1999, not knowing who I was. No, I want to recall what I did in 2013, after, and then it was, do you need to know after the January of snow, the breakdown of the hot water heater, and my plumber possibly beginning dementia, inherited from mother? He was afraid. But I am writing the first volume of the Speak Angel series. I go to Prague and to Cedar Rapids, Boise, Missoula, New York. This can't be of interest. Bought a faux leather jacket, washable, I still haven't. Each in his or her difficulty out there. I told a messed up version to Ed Skoog of the rich animals with a butler joke. Punchline, Mr. Rabbit is taking a shit, but I can't ever go home. That is to Needles, where Mr. Turtle, down by the well, the desert tortoise dwelt in the backyard. The year Mama broke her hip, 2008, a snake took over the tortoise's hole, and Mama was scared to come home from the rehab till it was gone, and Woody was anecdotes by then, whenever. He is Carmen in Alma, or the Dead Women, for his full name, my uncle's, was Carmen Woodrow Williams, and I refer to him in 2013 in the Speak Angel series, book 1. There isn't one time or year for this aggregational thought. C.F. Bob Creeley's intro to Whitman, the dirt spheres, aggregates Arthur Okamura showed him on the beach at Bolinas. In 2013, did I have enough money? With my tiny pensions, reversions from Doug's death, and now Social Security 2015, I can probably make it if I stay here. Claustrophobic apartment and French healthcare, estoy aquí. Woody was nearly illiterate, you see, and begs the question of the written poem. Suddenly, I don't know what a word is, and letters lose their reality. He had been a cowboy, a construction worker, manager of a Flagstaff laundromat. He wore a cowboy hat and generally had a horse. Could be difficult. Aunt Mary cut up his boots once in anger. Scissors? A knife? But he swore in 2 languages continuously. Everyone loved him. And I was thinking of him a few minutes ago. Couldn't remember where I was, Paris. The other kind of memory, a past reconstruction, and not of where you are. I don't know how to remember how to be here in Paris. Keep walking, the descent of Alette. I must go outside again to figure it out. No one will know who I am. Do you exist only in the gaze of others, in the mirror? Philosophy crap. I am beautiful existence, roadrunner, scorpion. I am the swooping down owl of what will come. Jimi Hendrix anecdote. It happened in 1970, but I didn't know how to tell it until 2005. Now I don't want to tell it again, but it belongs. I'd like to tell it without telling it, as in heaven. It is, as I've said in the other poem that doesn't quite tell it, a benefit at the Village Vanguard to free Timothy Leary. Bill Berkson and I have taken acid together, sunshine. I've taken a half tab and come to this room with a stage in its center. I wanted Ted to be here, he isn't, but Ann Waldman is, Wynne Chamberlain, Sally, Henry Pritchett, and the people who speak and perform, Jerry and Barbara Rubin, Alan Watts, carried up on a litter, he is ill or crippled, and Jimi Hendrix. I enter a bad trip zone in head and feel I'm at a real crisis. I might lose my mind, in the sense you, who can lose it. Henry's face melts and I can't speak at all. Everything on stage is a drama. It's psychic stage central and shadows. Jerry Rubin makes a desperate sounding speech. Vietnam, he and Barbara in tableau like actors shouting at end of world. Oh, Barbara, Anne says from audience. Hendrix later comes up, plugs in guitar, performs solo. No one plays with him or is his entourage. Finally, at moment, I stand mid-room, people stare, starting to leave, and I'm frozen, concentrated on keeping hold in head of small white thread that is myself. I'm holding on, and Hendrix walks up to me, then past, but first looks directly into me, seeing what I'm doing. I just stare, still focused hard on holding on. Bill finally takes me out of that hell room. Outside instantly, I'm no longer high. A few months later, Hendrix is dead. There is, in fact, no anecdote. No one saw anything except Hendrix. He and I were both there in it, a mental point of communication. It happened. And on my 60th birthday, I tell the story to Peggy, Tom, Marion, Joe, Anselm, and Edmund. But do you see how fragile and strong my what was imaged as thread was, and how Hendrix was, in passing, the only one who saw where I was at? Can it be that easy to lose? And if I hadn't held on, what would become? I would be annihilated. Was annihilation a real possibility? What would it be? This thing that happened. This is this thing that happened. Creating a memory collage. Because I was mourning Doug so hard. But push out onto page Alma or the dead women, I couldn't then react to 9/11. And I haven't placed it where I'm not, but visit, it's flat, pressed into the ground through plexiglass. The diorama died upon, the medium herself can't handle. My son's there. Eddie later worked as security guard at Ground Zero. I tour the smell of the relics with Anselm. I had been unable to locate them at first from Paris, but I was calm. 2 months later, dreamed they were harmed. You put it one place, it comes out another. I was outraged. I was supposed to, Why bother with the topic? I can't do everything, can I? trust the words now, it's all I have. Years after, sent the emails received from my sons and their friends as a historical document. Pages from Karen, long poem from Mariana, fear and love, more of love, and from others too. Annette sent them to my archive at UCSD as history. In Alma, away from the ensuing wars, we remake ourselves in a needle's gully, the years of the burrowing owls. Alma, who I am, an owl shooting up heroin into her forehead, is God, the primary, with Pantheon, Mira, Myra, Anna, etc. Anna had been real in the sense of actual person, a hooker in Chicago, run by John the Pimpo. That's another story. But in Anna Shoots the Biograph theater where John Dillinger was shot, she and I were killing our biography. I assumed her dead of AIDS by then, only saw her once. She might have made it. A beautiful African-American in a red coat and makeup, repaying me for Valium lent to John for her coke crash. Anna, I've always remembered you. Where was I? All I want to keep of it, love and words. And the incredible, thoughtful resilience, the depth of goodness, la bonte, caritas, in my sons, on the Zen wind, the everness of a skill to say. Water. This is a slightly shortened version of Blinding the White Horse in front of me, which is a healing ritual that I wrote in about 2009. I'm going to skip the beginning and take some parts out of the middle. But it takes place in this other dimension. And there's a healer and there's a patient's soul, actually. This is the patient's soul approaching. The shade lights down on the ground by the fire, never lit but burning orange with sparks of phosphorescent green. The patient, genderless, bodiless, will tell me of its anguish. I feel like an old opaque secret. I keep asking to be renewed. I suck on every fad, like mushrooms on a cemetery slab. Everyone's better than I am. I'm the imprisoned best. No one loves another except as a mirror to a musty guest, to take stingy control. We are all failing masterfully because we desire it. Want to see civilizations ruined, want to see our species' death, our psychic embroidery unraveled. We want to find out what's left, who's left, the impossible perceiver of our demise. I'm hungry, I'm sick, I'm wounded, no shirt, so tired. I want to go home. They're killing us, can't remember childhood. The animal bloodied, fails to hunt again. Our genocides are a cliche repeated, but there's no satiety. And further horror is willed. Who will save you? Who wants to be saved? I didn't mean to say, I didn't mean to be born. How do I heal you? Arching back with gems for eyes, cut like a fly's into hundreds of facets. I can only repeat what I am, lurch forward, sit, and again. I'm a being who wears different glasses, for I was the other child. I have made myself different eyes to see down the infinite alleyways the universe dissolves into at each ecstatic footfall, if you don't care. I'm the being who sees beyond what you do to me, what I do to myself, as we multiply yourself everywhere. Lice for all the facets of my eyes. I am resisting music. I'm the being that resists trance. I'm not in that trance, I'm above it. I'm the being that resists thought, for thought is the robot too. I'm the being who can't be sad. I have never been unhappy. I have never acted, have never supported a politics. I have never taught a thing. I'm the being who isn't planetary. We have traveled beyond our world to sit in a paper forest lit by jewel light. I'm the being out of whose mouth. I am the one who made the sun, but I don't care about that. I'm the being you can change into. Fire, you are previous and future. I am resisting grace, I am resisting goodness, I am not resisting futility, violence, or power lust. I am absorbing them and spitting them out in these words. Do these words go anywhere? Go where there is no place. I enter the image where there is no changing of hours. It is outside time that you heal. Walk with me outside time. You don't have to move your feet. What walks? Nothing wheels walking over the yellow image ground towards more dull black trees. We always wanted to be here, where creation is effortless. It is my body, but it doesn't really move. It impersonates motion, so you'll get it. There are diamonds in here floating. There are rubies in this thicket for your affection. This could be death, since it isn't anywhere you're supposed to be. Outside your other body, who can you be? You are like me. And if roses imbued with carbon are what we love, you say, and if frogs and tigers are dead, and honeybees, small blue California butterflies, and any number of beautiful creations, what good is this imagination? My eyes grow more empty, my mouth gapes, and all of that destruction belongs to you. The destruction can't be healed. We are murderers. I am the being who wears murder like a blazon. I am the being who lives covered in shiny maggots, the transcendent dead self-victim blood-smelled body. I am the being who watches the dance of naked skeletal prisoners. I am the being who sings triumphantly to all the dead lovers outlived, the ghastly wolf who eats any flesh, the commandant who severs his soldiers' limbs, the woman who razors the clitorises of girls. Who else would I be? It's all in my mouth, loveless. I am the being that absorbs you, nothing. You are nothing that stays. I can forget you instantly or heal you of universal felony. This is a picture of time stopped. My sense holes are empty. Yours will never be unless you become me. I'm the being with no face, inside each animal, monkey, lizard, inside the sunflower. If you kill them as species, you kill me, but here I'll be, dispassionate, outside time. Be like me. I am the being that reflects change, for change is boring and haunted. The same gestures and shifting colors. You know all the colors. Stop, just stop. Nothing suffices but timelessness. You terrify me, you say. I am the being beyond terror, beyond extinction. Details flow off me. Here it rains a mechanical gray vapor, if that's what you want. I am the being containing no organs, nerves, or other definition. I am the being who isn't speaking, the one who doesn't speak a language, the one who has no charms or amulets, the one who can't be bought. You have me, so you can't have me. I'm the being in which the universe is outside harmony, outside symmetry and consequence, outside protection. You have not passed beyond fear. You're shaking. I have to help everyone. I have to leave, the patient says. You'll never leave me now. You're mine. Be as I say. I'm the being who is unfertile, the being with a bloody shield. I am a skeleton. I have a skull with an artifice of fire in its eyes. I'm a skeleton enduring past genitals. I'm any stick figure seen beneath the eyelids. I'm your perceptions shuddering. I'm the being that won't shudder. I'm the skeleton in the black robe with dirty silver stripes clawed by a cat. I don't care if I heal you. I place skeleton fingers on your shoulders. I would never comfort anybody. I'm the being that makes you piss your pants. I'm the being with a hole in his bone forehead. I have endless skulls within skulls, bear, fox, owl. I'm the being who was once a cuckoo, tells no lies. I am a liar. I'm the rattlesnake that takes the tortoise's hole. I have the face of a man who drinks blood, of a woman of guile and deception, of an arrogant beggar who doesn't owe you a thing. In negative terms, you cannot die for me or kill for me. You can do nothing for me. And could I love you? I, the patient, ask. Then you would not get well. No lover gets well. And I'm not lovable. I am now within you. I am fighting your desperation and self-loathing. Though I don't care about you, I do it for the joy of it. I see all your identities' heads on a cyclonic body. Your faces grin or grimace. You have big, stupid eyes of old passions no one needs. Desires to do good or bad. An incapacity for reversal. Everything is important to you, say. This world deserves urgent healing. This is the healing. I cut off all your heads, lop lop. Head after head, paste ruby blood on the non-dimensional floor. The cyclonic body's black streams. Are you in pain, my darling? There's no pain here but the psychic. You're afloat in a blood-sticky, unuttered scream. I'm the being who's uninterested in what people hold dear, for I have no memory. I'm uninterested in their memorials, their tears, and their revenge. I could never remember to be just or fair or kind. I could never remember to abide by the laws of science. I'm the being whose tongue is tribes, whose forehead is the people streaming forth from it, but I don't remember them. I don't remember time. Yes, I am your tribal deity. No, I don't reside on your planet. I have never lived. I'm the being whose cheekbones vibrate when stars collapse inwards. I'm the being with ears like a bat. I hear every rumble in your small mind. I hear the noise of your thinking, but I don't listen. Your thoughts wouldn't bear remembering. I'm a being who sleeps amid winds, the one who doesn't mind death. Have I repeated myself? Time lost its track again. Have you ever thought about the mind of God? It isn't precisely humorless, but it's too timeless for a story. Every tale's compressed into a dewdrop or a cell, disordered flecks upon you. I'm the being for whom nothing happens. Now, nothing happens to you. The edges of your wound surround a void. The torn tissue foil-like rustles and shines, silver and chartreuse, the colors of a fake nature. I encompass no nature, as no animal thinks it's natural. I am the being that is ignorant of your systems, tiny and evanescent, dappling. Your calmer, empty body is dotted with remnants of your thought. Your body has no power. There's no power that matters. When universes are created, their combustibility, explosions in time seem large. If you were tiny, how small are you now? Empty. You engulf all. I am the being who smothers origin. I am the being predating worlds, the ridiculous assumptions there's matter, atmosphere, or cerebration. Dead, you have never thought. If you could be dead, everything is dead, or more, or uncreated, or more, was never, and will never be inhabited. The patient cries, I want to get up. No, not quite yet. I am the being of peacefulness and stillness. I don't move. I rise and float in your body. I make it feel like it's floating. Isn't it though? Where we are, there's no real ground. I inspire you to talk to the dead. I am in you, but you and the dead are in me. I'm the being from whose mouth, and the dead voices flow. I'm the being whose mouth creates from dust, whose mouth says, exist again, being nothing, being unimagined, being unreal. I'm the being in whose mouth your senses are made, that is, expressed. The being who has no way, the mouth in which you see stars fall, in which your eyes live. I'm the one who has no parent and won't accept you as a child. I never accept your senses. I accept you as above that dandyism. I'm the one into whose arms you fall when you fall through all of space, the one who tells you infinity is another hoax. I'm the being who has no manners or mannerisms. I have no style. I settle on nothing. I decide nothing. This is not a final place. There is no such place. I'm the being who whistles to you and distracts you from self-absorption. I'm the mosquito in your ear, an iridescent fly, a lightning bug. This clearing is full of false lights, flickers that stop when you look. I'm the being that's tricky because you try to make me conform to your senses. You have no senses here. You have nothing. I have no hope, then, the patient asks. There is no hope or change. Have I not changed, the patient asks. How could anything so empty change? Can we go beyond litany? The patient asks. Why bother? You are outside time. You have never been wounded, never acted, never had a thought. How can I speak? Are you speaking? This isn't happening. This is a dream or a poem or projection. Projected from where to where? From me to you. We aren't here. I'm the being that you are, that you forget. I'm the being whose horse is anxious to take you back. I'm the one within who has healed you. You stepped outside of time to find me, but you are the inventor of time, and you will go back. Can't I uninvent it? The patient asks. You return here at night when you dream. A part of your waking self remains. You are too dumb to know that. And as usual, you don't really know what you want. Do you want the so-called love of fellow creatures? Or do you want to live in the so-called truth? You have no words for who I am, only I have those words. But you might become too petty to find me. How did I call you this time? The patient asks. You were sick, so sick, with your wound of thwarted longing. You wanted the power to change the illusions you live in. You wanted to change them to an antithetical set. You wanted to name others wrong. You wanted to hang words everywhere. I am the being whose words keep dissolving. I am the being whose words aren't sacred. I am the being whose words are mixed up with falseness and truth as allies. I am the being who uses words as you use the senses to handle matter. I am the being who doesn't want to take you home. I'll take you back, but it doesn't have to be the same as before. If you are really healed, even if others aren't. I'm the being connecting everything but dependent on nothing else. You don't have to be dependent on much else. You don't really need much. You always define your needs too broadly. I am the being who doesn't need, and I am in you. I am the being composed of all knowledge, knowing nothing. The being who doesn't want to know anything. I am the being you are always unconscious of. You know me now because you are unconscious. You find me asleep or in your precious special states you think make you so hot. Any fool who sleeps in dreams can find me. I am the being that finds your aspirations puny. I am the being who's unpatterned, the being who sees no patterns except in you. For you try to identify yourself according to any pattern you can devise, counting the cells in your eyes, or saying you are a woman or a man. You don't have to identify yourself, and you can't. I am the being who has no identity. I don't have to have something. I am the being who is not praising itself, and obviously not praising you. I have been saying things in order to heal you, because words heal. I am the only thing that can heal you in this case. I am the being that heals by being incontrovertible, the one who is joyous. I am the one here, the very one. I am the being you can't go back on. I am the being who fills your death, the one you have no obligation to. I am the being you, the healed, have become. The patient says, I see my past drifting away. The patient says, I am the being that is forgotten. It isn't relevant to remember who I was, what my cares were. I am the being floating above the machine I must be part of, causing planetary death. I am sad, but I see my sorrow dark and shapeless with red and orange ribbony streaks. I have to see an image to know how I feel, because right now I don't feel, I see. Some part of me must continue to float above. I am the being that does not take sides in a war, even if one side's just. I am the being that doesn't care about justice, which creates more conflict. I am the being that floating is impartial, that is whole. I am the being that doesn't love itself, for that isn't necessary. I am primal. I am the being that won't support one against another one. I am the being whose earth transforms before my eyes. Can I only watch? That I have nothing is best for it. I will have nothing. Watching, floating. It, the earth, primal with me, transmutes in my eyes. But they are only eyes and don't really see. I see with the being that floats. I am the being that incorporates these radicalities of melting and floods, heat and drought. I am the being that is more than what we do to ourselves. I am the being that is larger than the subjugation of women, that thousands of years old moment. I am the being that has never lived on earth. I am the being whose tears are weathered. I am the being that has always been. The patient continues. I am the being who lives in this world, the world of the projections from our souls. I am a different being from the cartoon creatures we say that we see. I take refuge in this world that no one ever describes. It isn't a dream. I am the being that doesn't have to be ambitious, for I am culminative. I am the being who has no sex and does not engender, for everything's born. I am the being that isn't having a vision. I am the being who is omnipresent because I am receptive to anyone else's mind, anyone's projection, wherever they are. I am the being that doesn't worship, pray, or cower. I am the being that isn't a believer, isn't humble. I'm ready now. Blinding the white horse in front of me, I will ride light back. I have healed myself in light and will return in light to light. Yes, an image. I am an image now again, born in the eyes of others. I am the being that is born wrongly in human eyes. I had always seen and named myself as I was told to. Who has seen me? But forget that, riding the white-made horse through greenish-white air towards home. I am the being that flows through space, but there is no space, only being. The stars, shapeless pendants, brilliantly conform to no pattern against the fabric around me, the only silk I can see. It isn't dark. Are you with me? I speak to any patient in the battle against the illness of living as we do. The horizon, our healing wound, seen by our non-cellular eyes, our eyes, new images. You are light, and your fingertips are petals, mirrors, silver and gold. I'm the being unqualified by pronouns. I am the being that was always frightened by my inclusion of you as my weakness. We see each other now as the one image light. There is no light. Riding towards you as light, emitting it. I am the being that creates the sun.